You are running with the Devils, and man, it feels good to be back. We had to take a couple weeks off there with COVID, of course. The team unable to play 3 games in a row, but we are running with the Devils here. I'm the Rhino Ryan Knowles. He's Big John Caldwell, and John, it feels so good to be talking ASU football again. And got an interesting one this weekend in the form of Chip Kelly and the UCLA Bruins. We'll certainly be previewing that game quite a bit. But we got to start with some a little bit of housekeeping here with the ASU Sun Devils. Of course, 3 weeks is a long time to be off. Herm himself had COVID and had to quarantine a good number of his team. It seemed like there were rumors of mass cases throughout the program. There were some rumors of the entire side of the ball being infected with COVID. It was rampant throughout the team and staff, and they had to shut things down for a while. And in a shortened season like that, it's going to cost you games, and unfortunately, it did.
Yeah, and for 8 months they did such a great job of protecting themselves and keeping themselves working out. I thought they did the best preparatory job of anybody in the pack of getting themselves ready under the terrible conditions. And the story that I've been able to patch together is a non-scholarship player was who lives with a Scully player. Didn't make the trip to SC, and while he and this player went out and went out into the public and got himself exposed. And when his roommate came back from SC, he gave it to him. Wow. And that started things. So that started the whole affair.
Yeah,
so
that's only a little bit, but Herm has remained steadfast. Hey, he's wanted to finish the season strong. Doesn't want to see any quit in his players, even with all these games being missed and their postseason chances certainly up in the air. They certainly have to come out and play inspired, like their season still depends on, like their season is still going to go somewhere.
Yeah, and we were talking about this in the pre-show. Will playing UCLA, Arizona, and maybe and this 7th game, where you play your analog from the north, maybe Cal again, who knows? Will that be enough to get you in a bowl game? Probably not, based on what's going on
with the bowl cancellations happening now. The Sun Bowl, both the Northern and Southern California bowls, except for the Rose Bowl, it seems, have all been canceled. So it's going to be tough for them to make it to a bowl game. We certainly want to remain optimistic, but it's tough to say at this point.
It is. I think, though, mentally, the fans or everybody's looking at U of A as being our bowl game. And if that's the case, play every game like it's your bowl game is my motto going forward.
Only 3 games left. You've only played 1 to this point, so that's kind of how I think you have to approach this at this point. And the ball continues to roll, even though there's no team out in the field. There's no games being played. There's still things happening in the program, and not some good things, apparently, because this week it came out that starting defensive backs Ashari Crosswell and Jack Jones, 2 of the most talented players on the ASU roster, have been suspended indefinitely and will not play against UCLA.
Yeah, and this is not a legal thing. It's a team rule thing. I was told that it had to do something to do with trying to gain access to a football facility when they weren't supposed to, and who knows, something ensued. But the fact that Herm is not changing the rules for just because we're under COVID is a good thing, especially for all the kids who are trying to do it right, showing them the proper example. And I don't expect them to be gone for the rest of the year, quite frankly. I think
hopefully not. Hopefully they still have a positive attitude towards the program and towards the coaches, and they want to come back and play, however many games it may be, whether it's 1 or 2. But this is how things go sometimes, and you have to have a next man up mentality. Mm-hmm. And in this case, it's the DBs. They've got to have they're a little deep at this position, mm-hmm. So this is a chance for other guys to get an opportunity to play. In this case, it's guys like Tamarcus Davis, Jordan Clark, K'Wan Markham, Cam Phillips. I mean,
DeAndre Pierce.
He's a playmaker. He's going to get certainly more reps, it seems.
Yep.
So, this is a time for these guys to get out there, put some stuff on film, and show that they can play in a big situation.
We talked about DeAndre after the USC game and how surprising he was in terms of his.
He had a very nice game, definitely. Yeah.
Nice game, and really, I thought he ran really well. He did all the things that you would expect. He's coming in as an upperclassman, so I was just pleasantly surprised to get such good reps out of him. But I think
he was all conference when he was at Boise State, and I think playing for his dad is Antonio Pierce certainly had a good effect on him. So hopefully he can continue to be a ball hawk out there and make a positive impact on the field. So I certainly we both like this game against USC. Hopefully he continues that level of play. So coming in here, the UCLA Bruins 2-2 on the year. Of course, Chip Kelly. What more can you say about this guy? I mean, he's done just about everything you could expect as a college football coach, except win a national championship. But he's been two national championship games. So he's got a terrific history, especially over the last decade in the game, and that's with a trip that's with with some time in the pros in between as well. Right. So and the Bruins, they're coming off a victory over Arizona. They're 2-2 on the year. Both their wins have come against winless opponents. However, their two wins have come against Cal and Arizona. They lost to Colorado and to Oregon, although they did give the Ducks a run for their money. They only lost 38-35. So
they're very competitive, yeah.
And they're not the train wreck that they appeared to be a couple years ago anymore. They're certainly a competitive program again.
Yeah, his first year. This is his third year at UCLA. Obviously, he spent 4 years at Oregon, where he was 46-7. His third year here, he was. He's had two kind of losing seasons, and this was the year. But he was sort of looking at them to sort of turning it around from a recruiting standpoint and from a.
You had more upperclassmen.
True. Oh, he had the most freshmen of anybody in the country 2 years ago. It was ridiculous. But this year, I thought he was. This was going to be Chip Kelly's kind of year to show what he could do at UCLA, and he hasn't changed his spots, folks. He loves to run the ball, and we'll get into that in a minute in terms of who's carrying the ball for him. But Chip's not to be taken lightly, guys. He's like I say, he's ranked number 11th in rushing in the country at 242 yards a game. So we'll get into more detail here on how they run the ball. And
still an offensive mastermind, and he doesn't necessarily have the specimens, the thoroughbreds that he had at
Oregon,
up in Eugene. But he's developed some players in over there in UCLA. Certainly got to like what he's done with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. As a guy who didn't look like much when he first came into the program. But he's turned himself into a terrific player, and he's been out for a couple games now with COVID. The true freshman Chase Griffin has stepped in and played well, but DTR is expected to be back for this game. And the team is much better with him in the lineup because he's a great dual threat. He's a terrific runner. They run they run the read option very well. Him and their fantastic running back. Demetric Felton, who's a converted wide receiver, of course, but man, he has looked very good this year, John.
No, he is at 5.3 yards per carry. He's number 7 in the nation in yards per game.
Yeah, and he got a little banged up in that U of A game, but he doesn't do that. I mean, he could have really gone off on them.
Yeah, he went out kind of midway through the fourth, in the fourth quarter with I think it was a hamstring.
I didn't really see it. I watched most of that game, but I kind of missed him going. I missed him going out. But they're kind of deep at running back because they have the Duke transferred to Britton Brown, who's who comes on as well. He's been a solid number 2. He's had touchdowns in 3 straight games. So they're very good at the running back position. And
Yep.
they continue to put points up on the board and find ways to move the ball down the field.
And well, it was a hamstring, by the way. I just looked it up. And Kelly had said this week on the conference call on Monday that Felton's going to be fine. He'll play no sweat.
Yeah, there is still some doubt
issues.
about DTR, during Thompson-Robinson, about whether or not he'll play. All signs seem to indicate that he will.
Mhm.
So he's the one that ASU is going to have to prepare for. But him and Felton haven't really shared a lot of time in the backfield with DTR being out, but they both have a lot of talent, a lot of potential to put some big numbers up on the board.
The thing I like about Felton is his vision of the field and his ability to keep his shoulders square and make really solid cuts. He looks like he'll get himself. He'll probably be playing on Sundays for somebody, or at least get invited to somebody's camp. But that vision thing is really, I think, his strength going into it. Now he's got a nice backup too, Britton Brown, right?
Yep. Talked about him, the Duke transfer.
Yeah.
Yep. And they haven't really thrown the ball around a whole lot. I mean, they've been playing either not from behind necessarily, but they've been able to keep games relatively close for the most part. So that's why they've been able to play their game and run a lot more. But they still got some decent receivers, and Kyle Phillips has kind of been their leading receiver so far this year. He's a nice possession guy, not going to wow you with his size or speed, but he's got great hands, very smart route runner. He's put up some nice numbers this year: 17 catches, 193 yards, and a touchdown. So, they're also getting Jalen Irwin back from COVID. Chase Cota has been kind of the guy in waiting. They've been, he was so highly recruited. He's a 6'3", receiver who they expected to be big things from, and he hasn't really, lived up to the expectations. But he's due to break out at any time. He's got all the skills to do so.
Right. And they've got a nice big tight end they like to go to too. Greg Dulich, 12 receptions, 284 yards, 2 TDs.
Yeah.
And
they'll use multiple tight ends too. I mean, they'll sell. They love to use the play action, love to sell those run pass fakes. So a lot to look for in this team, because and I think one thing that is going to favor ASU in this game, though, from one standpoint, is they've had 4 games to look at UCLA and what they do. UCLA's only got 96 plays to look at ASU. So
right.
That's something to say, definitely something to consider. And just wrapping up the UCLA offense, of course, their offensive line has been much improved this year. That was a big weakness for them these past 2 years when they were losing all those games.
Yeah,
they were not very good up front. They've been significantly better this year. I think that's a big reason why they're marginally improved on offense.
It may be one of those things that it looks good on the number looks good on paper, but remember they played 2 teams with losing.
It might just be
two losers.
who they're playing.
Yeah.
That's also true.
Yeah.
But Jake Burton and Sean Ryan have been very good tackles, and Duke Clemens, he's a road grader there in the middle. So they got some guys up there, and they've been able to keep their quarterback. That's a big reason why Chase Griffin has been as successful as he was filling in for DTR, because he's had time to throw, and they've had some running lanes as well. So that's become a strength for them this year. Now the UCLA defense, this is an interesting group. I mean, they're certainly not giving up the gaudy numbers that they were the past 2 seasons, but it all starts up front with Osa Odigizua. I'm probably butchering that a little bit, but
better you than me, brother. Yeah, I'm glad you did that one.
Hey, I'm just glad I'm not having to call it. Good luck to you, Tim Healy, on Saturday.
Yeah.
So 20 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. He's been a playmaker up front for them. Very nice player. It's definitely been an anchor up front for them. They kind of feed off of him. But the linebacking core has been a pleasant surprise. I think they were a big question mark coming into this season. And Mitchell Agude, He's a guy who's really stepped up and played well for them, as well as Caleb Johnson, the JUCO transfer. He's had a great season with 19 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, and an interception. So, definitely, this is certainly not the turnstile defense that seems as was in this for this team for the last 2 years.
No, and remember when Chip was winning at Oregon, he really had the defense cranked up too.
Nick Alioti's defenses were always very good.
He had team speed like there was nobody else. We're not quite there yet in the progression of Chip Kelly's his need for speed, but and that's a good thing for us right now.
That was the thing. Like they were giving up about 30 on average, 35 points a game.
Yeah,
down to 27 now. They did give up 38 to Oregon. They haven't really come up against, other than Oregon, any elite offensive units. So it'll be interesting to see what ASU can do against them on Saturday. They were very good against Arizona. Arizona really showed out against USC and were able to move the ball well. UCLA stifled them a little bit.
Yeah.
On Saturday, only 153 yards passing. So they've been able to do some good things on defense.
And remember, I think that score would have been a lot more lopsided had the first string quarterback been there. The number one.
Yeah,
Felt,
that's right. That's true with Gunnell going down and then the Plummer having to come in. So
sure, that
is also true. But they still have to go out there and play. So
right.
You can just you see the number one quarterback go out and expect you're going to cakewalk over everybody. They did have to go out there and actually make plays to win the game, which they did.
Yeah.
And then on the back end, Stephen Blaylock, has had a nice season so far. Leads the team in tackles with 27 and an interception. They'll line him up all over the field. They'll play him safety, corner. And then also Quantrez Knight. He had a fumble recovery for a touchdown against Oregon. He's had a nice season as well. You also got Mo Osling III and Osi Ebo back there too. So it's a nice looking group. They were anchored for so long by Darnay Holmes, and he's not there anymore. It's a little weird not to see him out there anymore for them. So they certainly have had some guys step up with him onto the next level.
And if you remember last year when we played them over at the Rose Bowl, we'd come off the Utah loss. We were kind of physical.
We were beat up.
We were punched in the mouth, and UCLA saw that, and they punched us in the mouth too. And I think our guys had this false sense of, that's not going to happen again, or we'll be tough guys too. And it didn't work. These guys were very physical, I thought.
Got in a big hole early and just weren't able to crawl out of it more than anything.
Yeah,
so.
I felt there was a little chippiness going on in that game too, as far as.
When the game started to get out of hand, you
right.
kind of had to expect that, and ASU still got their pride, so that was a tough one to swallow because they just coming off of Utah, but I think they were still able to right the ship for the rest of the season, especially those last 3 games, definitely, but that's they still got to come out and through these 3 weeks off, you think they've had time to rest, they've had time to kind of reflect on their performance against USC, look ahead to UCLA. Yeah, they've had time to do that, but they haven't had any practice time. They only just got back on the practice field this week.
Yeah, and everybody was working out on their own. They're running and lifting and doing their own things.
It's not the same as working out with the
team. No. Keeping your cardio up is one thing. Being game ready as far as hitting and tackling is my biggest concern. Is the tackling.
It's like that old. When it comes to cardio, it's like that old adage: there's being in shape, and then there's being in football shape. They're two very different things.
Yeah, I'm just leery of bad tackling. Now, not that USC was bad. I called it an average tackling effort.
There's definitely room for improvement, though.
Yeah, and I just don't want to see a slip from where we were at USC. I mean, it's gonna be natural. Guys are going to want to reach and they're not going to have their feet in the right position.
Body tackling, get it, square up somebody, put your shoulder into them. That's how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll be able to come out and at least move the ball as well as they did against USC for 3.5 quarters. I don't want to see, but unlike the USC game, I'd really like to see, Herm and Zach Hill continue to put their foot on the gas. This isn't the NFL where you can let up there in the last few minutes with the lead. You've got to continue to be able to score because, some of these teams, they have high-powered offenses, and UCLA's shown ability to put points on the board as well. You get a lead on them, keep building on it.
Mm-hmm. I think we are more than capable of at least 10 more points than we scored against SC. I mean,
we got too conservative down the stretch. It was a big problem, and I think that this is something that Herm should know. I think should know by now.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the NFL. You're not going to be able to just blow everybody off the ball with your 300-plus pound elite offensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has those here, so you got to be able to work with what you got. And yeah, they struggled to throw the ball, but I think you can still get a little more creative than they did. In the fourth quarter there.
And let's remember, we'll have Darby back, and I think a lot of our game plan sort of went out the window when Darby was gone, and when we quickly figured out that freshmen like Johnny Wilson really wasn't ready for prime time. I think those adjustments will be made going forward. I think.
And then they were trying to force the ball to him a little too much, and
right.
that's a problem. And you got to recognize that. I think LV Bunkley Shelton is ready for prime time. I like this game a lot as long as he can hang on to the ball and not fumble.
Well, what they saw was the big mismatch, obviously, at Wilson's position that they were trying to capitalize on.
And it just wasn't there. And I think that that comes with more games, though. You're going to adjust your play calling. You're going to adjust your game plan based on what you see. So, and who's the hot hand? Who can you go to? Who can you trust out there in this young receiving core? And hopefully they have a better idea coming into this game than they did against USC, at least from a passing standpoint. Because I don't want to touch the run game. I think that what Rashad White and DeMonte Traynham did, I think you've got to continue to roll with that. I think you've got to continue to feed them the ball, and I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think they're definitely going to want to go out and run the ball against this team.
For me, it's all about, keep that going, keep feeding those guys. And if Jaden has, even if he's even at 50-55%, it's a whole different kind of ballgame than USC. He really had one of his worst throwing efforts in his career.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's something else that he's not going to face the defensive specimens that USC has. USC is a very solid defensive team, and they haven't always shown it, but they have some playmakers out there.
Oh yeah.
The UCLA's got playmakers, but not to the degree of USC. They got like maybe 3 or 4 guys who I would consider who could have a chance to play on Sundays. Everybody else, they're decent, they're serviceable, they're good college players, but not to the degree that a USC has.
Yeah, I kind of chalk up Jaden's performance to sort of the long wait, all the hype, and maybe believing some of the headlines that he's been reading about him. How big a year he's supposed to have, and kind of going back to the hometown, even though he's not playing in front of 80,000, SC fans. It was still that's an intimidating place to go on the road.
Definitely.
And so I think this will be a lot different game for Jaden. Just psychologically, I think he'll be a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, that takes us into our keys to the game presented by XLLending.com. For all your mortgage needs, check out XLLending.com. For me, I think you got to play to your strengths on the offense. Run the ball, use play action. They had a lot of success running against USC. DeMonte Traynham looks like he's, you mentioned ready for prime time. He's a ready for prime time player, and you can really tell that. And we weren't sure about what Rashad White would look like going into USC. He looks terrific as well. I think you've got to continue to feed him the ball as well, and let Jaden improvise a little bit when he drops back to pass. Encourage him to run. If it's not there and you see a running lane, don't hesitate. Take it. And I think that, running the ball, at least for the time being, is going to be the strength of this team. I think you got to play to that against this team.
And
Against the Bruins.
I apologize. These keys, a couple of these are old ones, and because I have Garbers in here from Cal.
That's when we previewed Cal, but that's okay.
No,
I have
no,
them here. So
no, you really wanted to slow down their run.
Yes,
because
that was a big one. Bruins are averaging 242 yards a game on the ground, and with Dorian Thompson-Robinson likely to play, he's going to want to run. That's what he does. He's a dual threat quarterback. And with what the type of season that Felton has put up so far, you've got to keep them in check. This is a team that's going to want to run the ball. You get your chances at them in the backfield. Don't miss, because they could run for a while if you do. So I think that tackling, slowing the run down is going to be very important in this game. If you can make UCLA a one-dimensional team, you got a great chance at beating them, because a lot of what they do on offense begins and ends with running the ball.
So take away the run and make them pass. And
and then I think also you at some point you will need to establish the run game. It may not be in this game, but it does need to happen at some point this season. I think you mentioned having Frank Darby back. I think that's definitely a big key. Having that veteran presence is certainly going to help a young receiving core. But continue to feed LV Bunkley Shelton. I think that he's only going to get better, and continue to work the tight ends into the mix. Curtis Hodges, Kyle.
You used Johnny Wilson as a tight. I mean, he was kind of using.
You can line him up there in the slot. He's gonna be run him up the seam. He's gonna be a mismatch for somebody. Hopefully, if he can get an uncontested opportunity at the ball, he should be able to make the catch. So, I think that if you can establish the run, show that you're in it, and then go on and move on to the play action, and continue to move the ball down the field with a good combination of run and pass, there's no way that UCLA is going to be able to stop them.
I know you really felt, I think your analysis after the SC game was that Jaden needed to get sort of in better sync with his receivers. And I just wonder if he's had that opportunity, because I know that he's been throwing, and I just wonder who's been throwing to.
Again, only getting back on the practice field this week. It's true. It's been tough for them to get some live reps in, but certainly hope for the best. Hopefully, going over these meetings for the last few weeks, knowing what you need to work on and being able to prepare for it. They got nothing but time right now, because I think if I'm not mistaken, classes are almost over. So it's getting on that time again. It's time to get back into work.
Sure. And I think for so many guys that who make this is a free year, folks. Everybody's getting a pass on this year. If they want to come back and play next year, they can. It's gonna help certain guys. There's going to be other guys who really want to get to the like Chase, who wants to get to the pros. But I think everybody needs to keep that in mind. You've got an extra year here if you really want to accomplish something in the whether you go to the pros or not. There's an extra year to get it done here now, and further your education. I mean, we should have a record number of guys in master's programs probably next year. I would think.
It'd be nice.
So So here's my keys. Because we've really got to stop the run. I really thought we've got to set the edge real well, and stop him from getting around and force him to go run between the tackles. I really want to see us establish the line of scrimmage early, and as sort of a throwing the gauntlet down for what happened last year. That we are a much better physical team than last year. I think we need a balanced attack.
Play with a chip on our shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. I think the chip needs to move back to us. I think if we can run for 200 yards, I think this is a big part of the equation for winning. Jaden's just got to have a better day. I think he will. I think he's got to get back into that ice in the veins sort of mentality he had last year. That that you saw a lot of times after touchdowns, he was always gesturing to his arms. Like he was shooting ice in the veins. And then I really expect that they're going to go after our starters, Jack Jones and Croswell, who are big part of our
Do you
secondary.
think they're going to come out throwing then?
I think that I think they're going to come out running, but I think in particular they're going to pick on these particular spots.
At some point they'll test them.
Yes, they're going to test these spots. I think these guys have got to be ready, and that's my point. I really need to see some guys step up in this game and play like champions. So that's why.
And those guys have played reps at times over the past few years, so it's not like they're it's not like it's a baptism by fire for them. They've come in and played well. I mean, Cam Phillips was a starter, all of last year, last 2 years for the most part. DeAndre Pierce was a starter at Boise State, played some big reps against USC. Tamarcus Davis got a lot of playing time last year. So, it's time. I mean, these guys step up with the starters being out. This is how things are. So you got to take advantage.
And going back to offense for a sec, we ran for 258 yards against SC. I don't see us running for less than these guys. So I think there's the opportunity there to have a big day on running. I think Jaden's going to go off. So that kind of, I don't know. Maybe it's time we get into our predictions. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I'm going to go. I think ASU does come out strong in this game. I think they take a lead and hold it for most of the game. I think they come away with the victory. I'm going to say 34-27 Devils.
I like that. That's I'm close. I'm at.
Usually are. We're very rarely very far apart.
Well, I'm. My feeling is that we put up 27 in the last game. We left points on the board. I felt on special teams. I felt like we could have easily scored 37 in that game. I'm going to go 37-34. We win by a field goal over the Bruins. Okay.
Okay, so that'll do it for this week on Running with the Devils. Thank you guys for joining us. It's been a rough couple weeks here. Been a rough year, but it's winding down here. We're in the last month. We're in the home stretch. And want to thank you guys for continuing to support the program and the ASU Sun Devils and us. So thank you for tuning in. And we'll get you next week. Hopefully the Devils can get those fans.
8:30 FS1 8.
Good night.
Works up, baby. Go get it.